All right, so we are celebrating Simone's birthday. You are a miracle, right? Simone was around, but she doesn't remember back to the first day that she was born, and you had a C-section, I think.
Yes, I did.
And so talk to us about that first day, and Simone was just brand new, born, and what happened?
Simone was born on a Thursday, and she had the failure on the Saturday in the afternoon. They brought her for me to nurse her, and she just went completely limp in my arms. I rang for the nurse, and then what she did, she took the baby and she kind of ran out of the room. It was maybe a little while later she came, and then she said, "Your baby is going to go to sick kids." She had a heart failure. For me, I thought, I'm going to go out to bed. I'm going to pray for her and give her back to the Lord, because I didn't know what to do. So that's the nurse. I came by the nursery, and she told the orderly to put me back to bed and put the sides up so I couldn't get out. And that's what they thought. I'm a mom, and I had to get out. So I went to the back of the bed, climbed out there, took my chair, pulled them with me to the nursery, and waited for the baby to come out so they could take her. But the most miraculous thing, I think, was that day the doctor found the pediatrician was in the hospital.
And this was a Saturday, right?
That was on a Saturday. Doctors are not in the hospital usually when on a Saturday. So for Dr. Fong being there was really amazing to me. And so I said, well, I want to pray for her. Don't leave, I want to pray for her. Well, the nurse said, we don't have time for that. I said, it doesn't take me all day to just put her back in the Lord's hands. So I prayed with her, and I asked the Lord. I thanked him for the baby, and then they left.
Now you just had a C-section.
Yes, I did.
So you weren't allowed to go with Simone.
No.
And
I was there for 10 days.
Okay, so you are obviously, like any mother, would be distraught and feeling all those emotions.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier in our conversation, Handy, that you looked out the window. What did you see, and how did that speak to you?
That was days later that I looked out of the window. That I sat there because it was, watching the birds, and it was just like the Lord said, look at the robin, has a name. The seagull has a name. The birds have a name, but your baby does not. I didn't think I was going to keep her.
You thought she was going to die,
yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Because that's what,
and what it was saying, basically.
So then I said, if you want her to have a name, you give her a name. I'll put my finger in a book. That's what you used to get when you had a baby.
Yeah, the baby names.
A basket with a book and other stuff. So put my finger in the book, and her name was Simone, which means heard by God. But to me, it was so amazing that God heard me.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you like your name Simone, right? Heard by God.
Yes.
All right, so let's jump now to the Simone is in sick kids. She's been diagnosed with DeGeorge's syndrome, and
I talked to the cardiologist who was there telling me that the surgery was going to be tomorrow.
Okay, so tell us about kids who've been operated on before.
And I asked her the percentage that Simone had a chance for her surgery, and it was 5%. She said, Dr. Trustler is going to do the surgery.
Okay.
And he has operated on children before, 4 more.
With DeGeorge's?
Yes.
Okay.
And Simone was the 5th child. I said, what happened to the other 4? She said they didn't make it.
Okay, well, tell me about that day of surgery. You mentioned earlier it was the longest day of your life.
That was a long day.
Now, you couldn't be there in the hospital, right?
No, I was not allowed to go there because I had her by C-section, and my wound wouldn't close because of the nerves, I guess, or the anxiety.
Yeah.
And they started at 9 o'clock, and around 12 o'clock, I had to go to the barn. We were living on a farm then to check the barn.
Yeah.
And I went to the feed room, and I sat on the feed bags, and I was kind of upset with the Lord. So I asked him, why are you letting this all happen to my children? Because we had another one who had cancer. And that was very hard on me.
Yeah. That was Teresa.
That was Teresa.
Yeah.
I said, why are you letting this happen to my children? And while I was sitting there, it was just like a voice came through the barn, be still and know that I'm God. I said, I know that you're my God. I said, I know that you're my Father, but why? What is it that you want from me? Everything I have is yours. I give it all to you. Why? And again the voice came, be still and know that I am God. And all of a sudden I felt the peace and the joy of the Lord fill my heart, and I went out to the house. And we had on the farm, we had a creek run through. And so there was a bridge. I stood on the bridge and started to sing the joy of the Lord is my strength as loud as I possibly could. And I thought, oh my, the neighbors might think I'm not quite normal.
Now, Grandma Keterberg was at your place, right?
Oh, thank God for her.
And I understand that, at lunchtime you did a little bit of a devotional there, read from a devotional book.
After we had eaten.
And what was it?
And we had a devotional, the Daily Light, and the first scripture she read was, take this child, nurse it for me, and I will reward you.
Wow.
And my reward is sitting beside me.
Hey, Simone, what does it feel like to be somebody's reward? Oh, that's amazing. So, we are taking just a little snapshot of such a long story, but what happens? What happened, Henny, when in those first weeks and months when an emergency happened and there was a crisis developed? What did you do?
What we did, usually we would phone to Brother Hank, and we would ask for prayer for Simone. And usually after heart surgery, in the surgery they keep them awfully cold, and afterwards usually they have a pneumonia. They get quite ill, and with her she was all plucked up and tried to cough it up. She didn't have the strength to do that. So I would phone to Brother Hank, and they would have prayer line going. And the whole church praying, and then the next morning I would phone. Oh, Debbie said, I have no idea what happened, Mrs. Medina, but she sure is good now. We got it all out.
That's amazing.
I said, praise the Lord.
Awesome. Now, is it correct in the fact that you weren't allowed to touch Simone?
No, I was not allowed to touch.
For the first 3 months.
No.
And you talked about visiting eventually where you were with Edith.
Yeah, Edith brought me
What
once.
happened right at that point?
Well, I was kind of concerned because first 3 months a time for a baby to really bond with a mother, because usually you have her in your arms and you nurse her or you bottle feed, whatever.
Snuggling.
And you snuggle with them. And she didn't get that. There was nobody who would snuggle her when they would feed her through the holes in the incubator. And that was all, except once a week. Dr. Trussell would one of the doctors would take her down to the operating room, because that is all sterile.
Okay.
And they would cuddle with her, and then they changed the incubator to a clean one, and she would be back
And of course, this is
locked in.
45 years ago.
That's
Technology
45
is-
years.
Yeah.
Technology is completely different now.
But you're in front of this incubator with Edith, and you
I
can't
did.
touch Simone.
And I was very concerned about that. She said, you know what? We're going to pray and ask the Lord to cuddle her. And then when we would come there, and once in a while Simone would lay there, and oh boy, her little legs would come up, and oh boy, somebody, it was just like you could see that somebody would cuddle her. But there was nobody there, but God was.
Well,
you know.
Simone, you're the only person I know who has ever been cuddled by Jesus.
Yes, he sure did. He sure cuddled her, and it
Well-
was so wonderful to see.
Well, obviously, we can't even start to talk about everything that happened
No.
in your life, Simone. But you actually came to our school, and I was a principal and your teacher, right? And I remember you and I working on your speech, and you talking about a lot of the things that had happened up to that point in time. But some stuff has happened since then as well, right? So. Ever since you were a little kid, you've had annual checkups, first at Sick Kids, and then maybe moved to Trauma General. And I guess Mom suggested and requested that the annual checkups could be made at Fergus or locally, right?
Yeah.
And something happened this year with Dr. Mistursky. So can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, we had to go for her checkup, and that was in March, the 5th of March.
This year.
Yes, of this year. And he came in and he checked his computer, of course, that's what they do nowadays. Everything was fine, he said. Everything was fine. And then he said to me, how long has she been a heart patient? I thought, how can you ask this? But anyway, I said 45 years.
Because he didn't know Simone really, basically.
Yeah, he saw her every year, but since she was 19 years old, he saw her every year.
Right.
But every year he asked, why are you here? Because every time he would take her tests, they were all fine. So this year, I said to him, did you know that she has the DiGeorge syndrome? And on the computer he went. And then he walked out. And then he came back. He said, I would like her to have an intense MRI at Toronto General. Well,
Did you get nervous?
I was. Yes.
Simone, were you nervous?
Yeah.
Because she's very claustrophobic to go in that. That MRI was not one of the most pleasant things.
Okay, so he's in his mind he's thinking it's just the heart, and when he's reminded that it's the George's, the alarm bells go. Okay, okay. So what happened with this MRI? You made it through, obviously, Simone. Mm-hmm. Tough day?
Yeah.
Okay, now actually, you told me a little bit earlier that the day of the MRI, which how long was it? Normally, how long would it be?
Usually 3/4 of an hour.
And this day it was
about an hour and a half or almost 2 hours.
Okay. So what happened? You came home, went for a little walk, and what happened on your walk, Simone?
I met a lady at the trail,
Okay. And
she asked if I could pray with you.
wow. And have you met her since?
No.
And wondering if this is not just a normal lady.
Well, she was normal.
She was normal, right? But could this have been an angel? Like, have you seen her since?
No.
The idea is right. Anyways,
She would so much like to meet her again,
tell her.
to be able to tell her that
What had happened.
everything is.
All I know is her name is Gail.
Okay, so you got back, and now it's in June, and the MRIs happened, and you're coming back for the results. And what was that day like?
Well, he was very excited. He wanted to read the results again and again, and then he said to us that, we talked a little bit about the DiGeorge because she didn't have an arch. He said it was interrupted. I said no, she didn't have one. I found that out when she was 11.
Aortic arch, it's amazing.
That's right.
Yeah.
She didn't have one. Do you know how big that one is?
Yes.
She didn't have one. And that's why I think he wanted the MRI to see if that was so. And he was very excited and said the results he said, her heart is perfect. Perfect.
And you said, how did you respond?
Oh, to God be the glory. I didn't know what else to say because it was so. I could walk on air when we walked out there.
Tell us about Dr. Isakawa and his comment.
Oh, Dr. Isakawa, that was when she was 11 years old.
That's already many years ago.
That was when she was 11. We had to go there. He said everything is wonderful. And we walked out, and he walked out with us, and he called all the residents in a clinic. We were in a clinic, and he called them all, and he said to them, "You want to see a miracle?" He said, "There she goes," and that was my Simone. That was our Simone.
But you know, like this, the end of June MRI visit, it's almost like the chapter is closed, and the doctor says she's perfect.
Yeah.
And you know, you and your family have gone through a lot of tough times, and when you talk about the character of Jesus and your experiences with him, like earlier you said, through it all, what's a lesson?
You learn to trust in Jesus. No matter what, you learn to trust. And I'm not telling you that it is that easy, because it isn't always easy. The road is not always easy.
Yeah.
We went through a lot with our children.
Yeah.
With all of them. I could have lost them all, but thank God I have 4 left.
And you know what? The chapter's not finished yet. The story's not closed.
No, I have to boys.
Both Minnow and Teresa are waiting for us all in heaven. But in it all, God has been so faithful and good. And so thank you for sharing your story. And Simone, thank you for being willing just to be here. And so everybody knows who you are and that you are a miracle. What's it feel like being a miracle, Simone?
I'm privileged.
But God is good every day.
Yeah.
Thank you, because your story is going to encourage every one of us to, no matter what we're going through,
No
trust
matter
in
what you
Jesus.
go through, no matter.
Yeah, that's right. So thank you so much.